Dr. Daniel Kweku Hazel, for your remarks. Before we introduce the second facilitator, please note you can jot down all your points for Dr. Abbey. After the presentation from the second facilitator, you would also be given the chance to ask questions from both presentations. So kindly jot down your questions, and when after the second facilitator, you'll be given the chance to ask your question. The next person, also in the person of Dr. Philip Takyi, he is a financial security expert focused on safeguarding financial assets and ensuring compliance with security protocols, contributing to maintaining the integrity of financial systems and protecting sensitive information. By 2 decades of experience in the sector, and his 2 decades of experience in the sector has earned him the skills in international development initiatives, enhancing public-private partnerships, embracing multicultural integration, and promoting financial digitalization. He is a go-to person on risk assessment and mitigation, corporate governance best practices, fraud prevention and detection, security implementation and training of trainers expert in financial security awareness. A decade of his exposure as a C-level executive introduced him to boardroom ethics and people management tenets. Currently studying cybersecurity as an executive master program at Ottawa University in the USA to further enhance his MBA Finance, MBA of Applied Business Research college degree in banking and finance, and doctorate of business administration from SBSS. Dr. Takyi, please, you are welcome, and the floor is over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. Just a quick one. When you were introducing Dr. Abbey, you had mentioned that the school is based in Swaziland. Wanted to just quickly correct that it's Switzerland. It's the same school I attended. There was a joke about those two countries before, so when you mentioned that, it just triggered that. But thank you very much for the introduction. So to add to the introduction, I currently run a consulting firm here in the United States. It's a New Jersey registered company by name PT Solutions LLC. And what we basically do is we provide consultancy in risk management to community development financial institutions under the Small Business Administration here in the United States. I'm humbled to be given this opportunity. Greetings to everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are connected from. By virtue of globalization today, we have the opportunity to interact on the transformative power of data-driven decision-making and its profound implications for modern leadership. Before I go into my topic, I'd like to thank Dr. Abbey. One striking aspect of his presentation for me was the role of digital literacy in organizational transformation, where he highlighted 3 key points, talking about strategic vision and digital transformation. He also talked about fostering innovation and creativity. And the last one he talked about was data-driven decision-making. I'll be taking it up from there. I'll be talking about the data-driven decision-making, the new leadership paradigm. And let me start with, normally I like to bring it down to earth. There was an instance where I had 2 friends from Ghana who had intentions to relocate to the United States. They called me to ask me for my opinion. And I decided to ask them the reasons why they wanted to travel. One of the friends said that, look, Charlie, Ghana is hard. Times are hard. This was 2 years ago. The times are hard. And I don't see what's going on. And I believe that when I move, I relocate to the United States, things should be better. From things I'm hearing from friends and other people, it looks like it's going to be better. I said, okay, that's fine. Then I had to listen to the second person. And he said, Doc, so I did a small research about why I need to move to this place. And this is what I found. First, I found out that United States controls a quarter of the world's GDP. And talking about the countries in the world, we are looking at about averagely 197 countries. Now, within the United States, there are 50 states. This is what he was saying. And there's one state called California State. Doc, when I did my research, California State's GDP stands at $4 trillion, which is bigger than the entire GDP of Africa. California population is 39 million people. If California was a country, it would have been the 5th biggest country in the world. I said, really? Then he went on to say, Vermont, which is the smallest state in the United States, has a GDP size of $45 billion. I said, okay. But, Doc, will you believe that it is bigger than that of 25 African countries? Now, to him, he was telling me that having a US visa to get in there, he was going to be exposed to 50 advanced countries. That's 50 states. He saw them as countries. And I just was marveled, you know. So when I heard the two, I just had to have a separate conversation, but I would not like to go into all of that detail. I'm bringing this up to kind of introduce or put it in context the conversation I want to have with all of us here. The first aspect, which is the gentleman who talked about using his gut feeling, talk about believing and without basis and all of that, we call it a traditional decision making, the traditional way of making decisions. And then the latter guy used the data-driven decision making method, you know, to make that decision. So as I've done that, let me go into, but permit me to share my slide.
Kindly go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So I will be looking at these items. The introduction has been done. I'll be looking at the fundamentals of data-driven decision-making. We just basically will be talking about the basics of data-driven decision-making. And I'll try to make it as practical as possible so we can all relate. Evolution of leadership in the age of big data. There's a lot of data flying around these days. Everything is about data. What does that mean? How does that hit us? What is the implication? The fourth one is leadership strategies for maximizing data insights. Then we will zoom into the challenges, the common pitfalls in implementing data strategies. Then before I end it, I will walk us through how to transition from a traditional base to a data-driven based organization. Here I will cite a personal example to help us put it in perspective. And then I'll close the discussion. So yeah, starting with the fundamentals, let me use another example. Imagine you own a small restaurant, you know, where you sell kenkey and fish. I love kenkey and fish very much. And beans and fried plantain. So you have two separate food items. Now you want to improve your sales for both. Now the point here is that instead of guessing what works, you decide to use data to make better decisions. I know some of us will be wondering, oh, but Doc, kenkey and fish to data. Yes, I mean it is applying to our everyday life. It doesn't matter the size of the organization. All right. So what's the problem statement here? The issue here is how to promote the sale of both kenkey and fish and beans and fried plantain simultaneously throughout the week. Now, what do? You start with collecting the data. You track which dishes uh, sell the most and what times customers visit the most. You analyze the trends. You notice that, for example, kenkey and fish sell best on weekends, while beans and fried plantain are popular on weekdays. Now, what do? You make informed decision. Based on the data, you decide to offer beans and plantain promotion on weekends and a kenkey and fish discount on weekdays. In measuring your results after a month, you check sales data again, you see that there is some improvement, or probably it's still not improved that much. You keep working on upgrading your data. This is how the process works for what we are talking about. Now, what is data-driven decision making? I call it a triple DM. This is basically a systematic process of collecting, analyzing, and applying data to inform business strategies and operational decisions, just as I've just cited. It is built on three core principles. There are other principles, but I picked these three core ones. One has to do with empirical evidence over intuition. I just cited the example of the two guys who wanted to relocate and their basis for wanting to relocate. So triple DM under this prioritizes data analysis and measurable evidence over instinct, gut feelings, or anecdotal experiences, if you may put it that way. The second point is continuous improvement. It's very important. Organizations using the triple DM continuously refine their strategies based on new data insights. That kenkey seller has to keep improving, has to keep reviewing the data to ensure that they remain competitive and adaptable. And then lastly, predictive and prescriptive analytics. Here we're talking about businesses using past data patterns to predict future trends and prescribe the best course of action rather than making reactive decisions. Now, let me come to the industry world, give a typical example of what we're looking at. I'm sure we all heard of Jumia, and I'm going to use Jumia's data-driven e-commerce strategy as an example. Jumia basically is an Africa's leading e-commerce platform. Effectively employing data-driven decision making to optimize product offerings, pricing strategies, and customer engagements, and so on. Now, by analyzing online shopping behaviors, search trends, and purchasing patterns, Jumia ensures that its platform meets consumer demands efficiently across African markets. Let me give an example of what they did. For example, during high traffic sales, events such as Black Friday, I'm sure we all heard of Black Friday, and back to school promotions. What they do is that they use predictive analytics to determine which products, such as smartphones, fashion items, and household goods, etc., will be in highest demand. The company then adjusts stock levels accordingly and personalizes marketing campaigns based on past customer interactions. Now, in regions with fluctuating internet access, our colleague just mentioned that it's having some internet challenges, and it happens everywhere. But there are certain places that regularly experience this. Now, Jumia noticed that, and they say that in places where they had fluctuating internet access, Jumia leverages data to optimize its mobile app and payment options. Now, this is to ensure a seamless shopping experience at the end of the day, even for those ones there. The platform also uses data insights to manage last mile deliveries efficiently, reducing delays And this goes a long way to improve customer satisfaction. Now, by leveraging this, what we call the big data analytics, Jumia enhances, as you can see, its operational efficiencies, improving customer experiences and driving e-commerce growth across Africa, demonstrating the transformative impact of the triple DM in digital retail. Now, I mentioned to you the two guys who wanted to travel and the reasons for wanting to travel and using that to separate between traditional decision-making and triple DM. Let's walk through that. Now, contemporary decision makers, increasingly leverages big data and AI-driven analytics, as we can see, and as our colleague Dr. Abbey indicated. Now, these technologies enable decision makers to extract insights from vast amounts of structured and unstructured data, providing a more objective basis for strategic choices. Now, by analyzing historical patterns, predicting future trends, and identifying correlations that humans might miss, big data and AI enhance decision-making accuracy and efficiency. Now, this approach minimizes reliance solely on personal experience and subjective judgment, as we can see in the example that I cited. Instead, it emphasizes more on data-driven methodologies that adapt dynamically to changing environments and new information. Now let's look at the differences, the actual differences in these two approaches. I'm going to use these four categories or parameters: the approach, decision basis, flexibility, and risk level. Talking of the approach under traditional decision making, it's experience-based, gut feeling. Look, I've been doing this for 30 years. You cannot tell me that I'll be wrong this time around. That is gut feeling. That is experience-based. That's how we talk when we are in that kind of situation. Then, under same approach, data-driven decision-making tells us that our decision has to be empirical. It has to be evidence-based. It should not be based on just experience or our gut feeling. Then we talk about the decision basis. The other one is personal judgment, as you can see, and it's based on intuition, But triple DM is more on quantitative insights, as you may call it, using predictive, models. When you talk of this flexibility aspect, this traditional decision-making aspect is fixed strategies. It's about what the person is subjective, what the person believes in. But on data-driven, it's a continuous adaptation through data analysis. Whatever the data churns out, that is what is going to indicate the direction we're going to follow. And then on risk level, the traditional decision-making research shows that it has higher risk due to uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainties with that, but there's a lower risk with the data-backed choices. Now let's move on to the evolution of leadership in the age of big data. And here, I'd like to focus on our continent, Africa. Here we're saying that modern business landscape, as you know, in Africa is undergoing a profound transformation due to the rise of big data, large, complex data sets that can be analyzed to reveal patterns, trends, and insights. Now, leadership in this era is no longer solely based on intuition and experience, but it is increasingly data-driven, allowing leaders to make informed strategic decisions. In Africa, where digital transformation is accelerating across various industries, the role of big data in leadership is becoming more pronounced. From financial institutions to healthcare and to retail, African leaders across board are leveraging data analytics to drive growth, improve efficiencies, and enhance decision making. Now, I would like to talk about the shift under this same subject, the shifts from data, traditional data decision making to the triple DM. We're saying that historically leadership decisions were often based on experience, as you can see, market trends and expect opinions. While these elements remain important, big data has introduced a paradigm shift by enabling leaders to harness real-time insights, predictive analytics, and data-driven strategies. This evolution is particularly evident in Africa, where industries such as banking, agriculture, telecommunication, and so on and so forth are leveraging data to enhance service delivery. For instance, financial inclusion players, and I mean that space, they utilize big data analytics not only to assess customer creditworthiness, reducing loan default rates, and improving financial inclusion. By analyzing transaction history and mobile money usage patterns, the bank can offer customized financial products to previously unbanked individuals. This approach contrasts sharply with traditional banking models where credit decisions were primarily based on collateral and personal references. Now, we're talking about big data's role in transforming leadership in Africa. And here I like to highlight on two key points. That is the private sector response and enhancing public sector governance. I'll cite another example. For example, in the MTN group, we know of the MTN group, which is a leading telecommunications provider in Africa. This company employs big data to optimize network performance and customer experience. By analyzing call patterns, data usage, and customer complaints, the company can predict network congestion and proactively address service disruptions before they occur. I know some of you may not be too excited with their service provision so far, but they keep working on. That's why I said it's a continuous process. They keep working on this and they're getting better over time. Enhancing public sector governance. Here, let's go all the way to Rwanda, where there's something they call the Rwanda's Smart Africa Initiative. And here, they're talking about the integration of big data into public policy. Very interesting. And this is enabling the government to track economic performance, optimize healthcare delivery, and even manage urban planning efficiently. This all by using data analytics. And Rwandan authorities have successfully improved public service delivery and infrastructure development in major cities like Kigali. But despite the immense benefits, the adoption of triple DM in African leadership faces some issues, like the data privacy concerns, lack of skilled personnel and infrastructure. I'll walk into the details as I move along. But to wrap up under this, I'll say that the age of big data has redefined leadership, requiring a shift from traditional decision-making to a more analytical, evidence-based approach. You agree with me? In Africa, for example, like I've mentioned, businesses, governments, and industries are embracing data-driven strategies to optimize operations and improve outcomes, whether in banking, like I said, telecommunications, agriculture, governance. Leveraging this big data is no longer optional, but essential for sustainable growth and competitiveness. As African leaders continue to harness big data, the future of leadership will be defined by innovation, efficiency, and strategic foresight. Looking ahead, African leaders must foster a culture of data literacy, invest in analytics tools, and develop policies that balance innovation with data privacy regulations. The continued evolution of leadership in the age of big data will not only drive economic growth, but it's going to go a long way to enhance governance, service delivery, and overall societal well-being. Now let's look at the leadership strategies for maximizing data insights. We're saying that here, we know that effective leadership plays a very, very crucial role in cultivating data-driven culture within an organization. The analysis here is going to explore two key leadership roles that have emerged in this transformation, and I'm going to support it with some real examples. So I talk about the promoting data literacy aspect, and then I'll also talk about encouraging experimentation. Promoting data literacy, basically, I'm talking about the fact that leaders must advocate for data literacy among teams. It has to be intentional, enabling informed interpretation and application of insights. Let's look at a typical example. I'm sure we've all heard of the Alibaba Group, owned by a co-founder being Jack Ma. Now, this group has championed a data-driven culture, emphasizing the power of analytics in e-commerce and digital transactions. Alibaba uses data to enhance customer experience through personalized recommendations and fraud detection. Guess what? They promote data literacy among employees by training them in AI-driven decision-making, ensuring that they can interpret and act on data insights effectively. That way you can easily get their buy-in when it's necessary. Another example is Siemens. Siemens is actually, we know, is a global leader in industrial automation and manufacturing. This company has integrated data-driven leadership by equipping its workforce with data analytics training. Their CEO, Roland Busch, has implemented a data enterprise strategy which is focusing on AI-driven automation and predictive maintenance. In this company, all employees are encouraged to leverage digital twins. By that, talking about virtual models of physical assets, to simulate real-world scenarios and make data-backed decisions. There's another one in Brazil, Nubank, that's Latin America's largest digital bank, has transformed the financial sector through a data-driven approach. The CEO, David Velez, has prioritized data democratization, ensuring that employees across all departments, whether in marketing, HR, customer service, or fraud detection, whatever, have access to relevant analytics tools. This bank conducts the data literacy workshops to help employees interpret financial data and enhance decision-making processes. So that is intentional. Now let's move on to the encouraging experimentation bit. Here we're talking about cultivating an environment that encourages experimentation and learning from data-driven experiments. Another example, same Alibaba. They operate what we call the A/B testing labs. The A/B testing labs is basically split project where you are comparing A to B to make a decision. So here teams experiment with different user interface, designs and marketing strategies before launching them at scale. For instance, there's an event they call the single day sales event. And this event leverages real-time data to adjust pricing and marketing strategies dynamically, optimizing sales performance based on consumer patterns. Remember, I mentioned Siemens. Now, Siemens also has another platform called the MindSphere. The MindSphere. It is a cloud-based IoT operating system, which enables businesses to experiment with data-driven optimizations in manufacturing processes. By running simulations and collecting real-time sensor data, they are able to facilitate innovation without disrupting production, and allowing leaders to test hypotheses before full-scale implementation. Same thing with Newman Bank in Brazil. They use the machine learning models to experiment with personalized banking products, adjusting credit limits and interest rates based on real-time consumer behavior, and analyzing customer feedback and transaction history. Now, this enables the company to rapidly iterate on product offerings, ensuring a seamless customer experience while mitigating financial risk. You agree with me that these examples demonstrate how effective leadership fosters a data-driven culture across diverse industries and regions, whether in e-commerce, where I cited Alibaba in China example, manufacturing, where I cited Siemens based in Germany, or fintech, Nubank, which is based in Brazil. We're talking about visionary leaders that promote data literacy and experimentation, enabling the organization to remain agile and competitive in rapidly evolving digital landscape. Now, before I move to the next item, let me ask, what did we learn so far? I talked about the fact that, this is transforming how organizations operate, compete, and innovate. As we have seen through real examples across the globe, companies that successfully integrate data into their decision-making processes gain significant advantages in efficiency, accuracy, and strategic foresight. Key points to note here. One, data is the new competitive advantage. That's very important. I mean, organizations that leverage data effectively can outperform competitors, optimize resource allocation, and improve customer engagement. The Alibaba example, where I said that, look, it has allowed it to dominate the global online marketplace by predicting consumer behavior and personalizing shopping experiences. The next item we are learning from this is leadership must champion a data-driven culture. This is critical. Successful leaders do not just adopt technology, they embrace it, and ensure that it is made of a data-driven mindset throughout the organization. Leaders have to promote data literacy, ensuring that their employees across all levels understand and apply data insights. And here I talked about the Siemens investments in digital twins and predictive analysis that has empowered employees to make smarter and data-backed decisions in manufacturing. The next learning item has been the experimentation and innovation driving business growth. That the fact that data-driven organizations embrace a culture of experimentation where real-time insights guide innovation and risk-taking. Leaders should encourage A/B testing, for example, machine learning applications and process optimizations to refine strategies before full-scale implementation. The Nubank example was very clear, where the machine learning models was used to adjust financial services in real time. And this has helped revolutionize the digital banking in Latin America. Next is balancing data with ethical considerations. And here we have to take this very seriously. While data provides immense value, leaders must also ensure responsible data usage. That's very important. Prioritizing transparency, security, and compliance with global regulations. Ethical concerns such as privacy protection and bias in AI-driven decisions, must be addressed to maintain consumer trust. And then finally, the last item we're noting here is that the future of leadership is data-driven. That is the future. As organizations continue to be shaped by AI, big data, and automation, etc., future leaders must adapt. They must try to adapt to data-driven decision-making models. These organizations that fail to invest in data infrastructure and analytics risk, falling behind, and increasingly in an increasingly digital world. So I'll move to the next one, which is the challenges. These things don't come without challenges, and I'll focus on two key aspects of it, which is the data quality and integrity, and then the privacy and ethical concerns. I've briefly mentioned, but I'll go into detail here. Now, under data quality and integrity, we're talking about ensuring data accuracy and reliability, which is crucial for making informed decisions. Let me give you a typical example. In Nigeria, next door, for Ghana, Financial institutions increasingly use data analytics to assess creditworthiness for loans. However, due to inconsistent data from customers, credit scoring models often face accuracy issues. The absence of a comprehensive credit database, despite efforts by the credit bureau, makes it difficult to assess loan applicants accurately, leading to high default rates. Here, I encourage that there should be some collaboration between banks, fintech firms, and credit bureaus to help create more comprehensive credit profile for borrowers. Now, let's look at how this reflects in Kenya's agricultural sector and data gaps. In Kenya, East Africa, the agricultural sector heavily depends on weather predictions and market data to guide farmers. However, fragmented data sources and outdated government records make it difficult to provide farmers with accurate insights. And guess what? This has led to cases where farmers overproduce certain crops, causing price crashes, or fail to anticipate droughts, leading to food insecurity, etc. Right here in Ghana, there's a company that is doing a brilliant job on that. They call them Bitland. It's using what we call blockchain to create transparent land records. And a similar approach could be used for market data by these Kenyans, and of course for Ghana as well. Then I'll move to the ethical concerns, privacy and ethical concerns. Here we're talking about safeguarding consumer data and adhering to ethical standards in data collection and usage. Let me use the 24-hour economy proposal by the government of Ghana as an example here. Now, this policy basically aims to enhance economic productivity, by extending business operations around the clock. That is what the 24-hour economy is all about. Now, this example illustrates that while Africa is rapidly adopting data-driven approaches, ensuring data quality and ethical data governance remains a significant challenge. Addressing these issues requires investment in digital infrastructure, robust regulatory frameworks, and enhanced public awareness of data privacy rights. In fact, Ghana's legal framework must ensure compliance with global data protection standards, such as the GDPR or Ghana's Data Protection Act, to safeguard individuals' rights. I would suggest that if biometric systems are used, AI surveillance or IoT sensors are used, they need to track worker productivity and safety. If these are going to be used to track worker productivity and safety, it's important that ethical issues regarding consent and data security must be well addressed. Now I talk about steps to transitioning into a data-driven organization. We're getting to the bottom of it. We've talked about all of these things, but the question is, how do we go about this as an organization? To successfully transition into a data-driven leadership model, organizations must integrate data analytics, technology, and cultural shift into their decision-making processes. And I'll give the steps on this. Is my time coming up, Dr. Adams?
Yes, sir. Your time is up.
Okay, so let me just give this example to wrap it up. So there was a personal experience I had in somewhere in Ecuador. I think it would be very useful for this discussion. The bank is called Banco Solidario. It's a financial institution in Quito, and it's one of the few Latin America banks to receive gold client protection certification. It has transitioned from traditional decision-making, which relied on intuition, like I said, to data-driven organization that leverages big data. And how did they do this? Basically, they went through the steps that I've highlighted here, establishing a data-driven vision strategy and so on and so forth, to the point where they now constantly measure and refine data-driven success. But this is what happened in that instance. Banco Solidario had a clear data-driven vision and strategy, which ensured alignment with business goals. They had investment in modern data infrastructure, which enabled real-time analytics and AI-driven decision-making. They had data literacy training across all levels. We talked about that. They had a culture of experimentation. We talked about that. They had a robust data governance and security measures which ensured compliance and ethical data usage, and then regular measurement and refinement. So this is the approach we can use to get there. To wrapping up, I'll say that as we move forward, the challenge is not in just collecting data, but in extracting actionable insights and fostering a culture where data-driven decisions lead to a sustainable growth and innovation. Thank you so much for your time. I have some references here. The presentation is with Adams, Dr. Adams. He's going to share with you. I have references here you can always go to and get some more insights into what I presented. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Philip Takyi, for such a powerful presentation. We have the next 20 minutes for question and answers for the first presentation and the second presentation. First presentation and second presentation. If you have any questions, kindly raise up your hands with any of the emojis so we could get you ask your question. Any question, kindly raise up your hands. I already have questions that have been sent to me. Okay. Dr. Daniel Hazel. Dr. Daniel Hazel, kindly ask your question, sir.
Okay. So my question goes to Dr. Takyi. Doc, thank you very much for the insightful presentation and the examples you've given to support your presentation. My question is, when we look at most of our traditional organizations, how do we deal with the knowledge gap? And here I'm referring to the gap in IT, AI, big data knowledge. We have experienced workforce that are very experienced in the traditional ways of doing things. But when we are looking at the new paradigm, and we are saying that data-driven decision-making is the way to go. So how do we bring the old labor force to speed with the current trend? And here I'm looking at timelines, because when are we going to get them to this level so that we can move our organization in this new paradigm shift? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So another question. So Dr. Takyi, kindly note that one. We'll take another question. So, okay. Okay, so then this question also to Dr. Takyi, in addition to what Dr. Daniel Hazel asked, why is data literacy important for digital leaders and their teams in the area of local government service? In the area of local government service, why is data literacy important for leaders and their teams? So you can continue answering the question.
And so the second question I didn't get, but the first, can you repeat the second question?
The second question is, why is data literacy important for leaders and their teams? And in answering this question, I want you to take in the context of local government service.
Yeah, I mean, let me take the first one. The first question was about, and thank you for the question, Doc. The first question was about how do we bring on board the traditionalists in this area and the time frame we would need to make sure that we're able to catch up. They're able to catch up. I don't know if that's what you meant.
That's what I meant. Thank you.
Right. I think so. Basically, there has to be some form of awareness that needs to be created, and this is one of the efforts Chartered Institute of Leadership Governance is trying to do. But beyond that, everybody here works somewhere, somehow, you know, and some of us are privileged to be frontline personnel, could be managers, and even heading institutions, wherever we find ourselves. I think these are subjects we have to bring on board at our board meetings, if it does not exist, already. Because before we start all of these things, like I mentioned, the vision, this has to be inculcated in the vision of the organization. It has to be part of the strategy of the organization. Without that, we will not be able to be consistent in getting it implemented. So once it gets inculcated or imbibed in the vision or the strategy of the organization, then we are one step legged into the door. And what that helps us to do is that it gives us the opportunity to now look for ways. It could be through facilitations. We could get consultants to come in to help us to do some of these things. But one thing that I would like to also mention is that some of these organizations downplay the importance of risk management. So that's where we talk about the chief risk officer's role. A lot of these organizations don't even have that. They think it just has to do with financial institutions. Part of the responsibilities of the CRO has to do with these things, And so we need to bring on board people that are equipped, that have the capability to be able to do this once the vision has been created. And once we're able to get those people on board, we begin the process. And it's going to be patient. We have to customize this. Not everybody is comfortable with computing and all of that, but we have to customize it and we have to make it very practical, as much as possible to make it that exciting. So that's what I would say with that in that regard. Then the second question, Dr. Adams, you were referring to public sector?
Yes, please.
Sorry, I missed the details. The concern about public sector was what?
Why is data literacy? Why should they be so much a concern to them when it comes to data literacy?
Okay, so like I said, and Dr. Haza, I hope I answered your question. To move on to this, like I said, this is the future. This is where we are going with activities in the world. I've cited a lot of examples here to show to us that even governments in Rwanda, in Kenya, and so on and so forth, and now Ghana wants to also bring on board this 24-hour economy, for example, the decision to form the framework, the parameters, will be based on data. And so basically what I'm saying is that becoming literate in this is no more optional. It becomes something that becomes urgent and very important, very essential for every sector, including the public sector. And so there has to be that intention. And all of these things, like I said, it has to be intentional. There has to be that leadership intention to make sure that this approach is actually being drilled down, cascaded down to all the units, that are in this picture. So yes, that's what I would say to that. But there are consultants that can help, in this approach to make sure that we ease sometimes people panic when we talk about data and all of that. Some people panic, but there are consultants that can bring this up and make sure that it becomes down to earth and easy to apply.
Okay, sir. So any practical steps to help leaders improve on their data literacy to improve on data literacy in their organizations?
Yeah, so the final part of my presentation was trying to address that. And it's still the same issue I mentioned about, how do you call it? For example, the Banco Solidario example that I cited, where I talked about the fact that there has to be, and I keep saying, this has to be part of the vision. They have to invest in modern data infrastructure. Once it is part of the vision, you have a budget that is assigned to making sure that there is investment in modern data infrastructure. If it's not there, it's difficult to get that budget. And then we work on the data literacy training across levels. This, you can have a recruited person who will come as an insider to help do this, or you can outsource, this activity. You can also make sure that by so doing, you are ensuring there's that culture of experimentation. Now, this is one thing I'd like to mention. In budgeting, when organizations are forming their budgets, they should make room for innovation. If you want to introduce this aspect of our transformation. We have to make room for innovation. Now, innovation will make room for losses, some possible losses. All right. If we don't do that and we make it uptight, it will be difficult for people to comfortably welcome this kind of approach because they'll be afraid to make mistakes, to err, and all of that. They'll go back to their traditional ways of doing things. But once it is part of the strategy, you make it part of your budget, make it part of your plan, and you are making room for innovation. And there's a robust data governance and security measure in place. And then you have measures to regular check and refine, whatever you are doing, making sure that it is in line with what the vision dictates. So that's what I'll say.
Okay, sir. Thank you for the answer. And from Winnie, Winnie says, additionally, it will support effective decision making, policy design, and increase impact of public sector agencies. Okay, so this set of questions also goes to Dr. Victor Abbey. Dr. Victor Abbey. And this question goes like, how can digital leaders drive organizational, or how can leaders drive organizational agility and innovation in this rapid phase of technological change? How can digital leaders drive organization with agility and innovation and this rapid change?
All right, thank you, Doc. And thanks to the one who asked the question as well. As I indicated earlier, driving the digital leadership within the space we find ourselves, I said, is very important because the advancement in technology, you cannot afford to be left behind. You cannot. It's non-negotiable. And how we can do that, as I indicated and Dr. Takyi also indicated, is about promoting digital literacy across board. Even oneself need to be digitally literate, especially with the trending technologies that are coming. We have a vibrant landscape full of all manner of softwares, all manner of technological, platforms. And one needs to be literate in order to promote that literacy within the organization as well. If you have also within the organization where you are privileged to have, or you are honored to have younger people who are savvy at technology, that's an advantage. You can equally resort to or harness their talent to promote, digital leadership within your organization by placing them at the disposal of others who are not digitally literate so that they can help promote the literacy within the organization. Now, processes and systems also need to be altered as against the traditional approaches. I indicated in the call to action that we need to examine or take a second look at the systems in place within our organizations and design the appropriate systems or technological platforms that will, promote operational efficiency and all that. So it's about examining your current situation, how you transition, where you want to go, the future state, and then how you transition to that state as well. So when you determine where you are going, the strategic vision, the digital strategy, you will clearly identify
Hello, Dr. Abbey. Hello, Dr. Abbey.
Was I audible, please?
Your last part, we didn't hear the last part.
Okay. Okay. Again, That is the challenge we have in our part of the world. I pray that one day we'll have a very stable internet connectivity. It's always a challenge. Everybody breaks. But I was saying that if we have younger generation within our workspaces who are, by and large, more, uh, you know, well equipped when it comes to use of technology, or they are savvy at technology, we should use them. We should place their expertise at the disposal of the older folks who will be taught, digital literacy, so that they will be able to use new trends that are coming up. And then by so doing, we'll be able to transform our organizations. That's what I was trying to say.
This next question, in fact, as an institute, we even have some of these challenges, and it had to do with how leaders balance the risk of cybersecurity with or to digital transformation. We've had members who will tell us, Doc, I don't want to be on a WhatsApp platform because of this threat of people sending me links to click on, sending me this and that. I've had this, so I don't want to be on this WhatsApp platform. If you have any information, kindly call me or send me an email. So we have a couple of these issues happening. So, Dr. Abbey, what strategies can leaders adapt to balance this issue of cybersecurity risk with the need for digital transformation?
All right, thank you once again. Cybersecurity awareness is it's just like personal security awareness. You have to be intentional about it. You have to take interest in being aware of the risk associated with all the technological platforms that you use. I say so because security, regardless whether it is cybersecurity or physical security, is a personal responsibility. So one must show interest in whatever platform you want to use, whatever landscape or whatever system you want to use, you must get to understand what are the risks associated with that platform and what are the controls, in place. Then you get to implement those controls. But where we are going, you cannot say because there is risk associated with those, or cybersecurity risk associated with the platform, so you cannot. You'll be left behind. So personal responsibility in ensuring that you become aware of the various cybersecurity threats associated with various platforms or softwares or what have you is the way forward for anybody who is apprehensive with regards to cybersecurity related issues. So I take it that personal responsibility is key. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Abbey would like to take
sorry to add that a situation where some people will give their phones to others, for just an example, phones to others to set it up for them. By so doing, you end up, exposing yourself more to the very risk that you're trying to prevent. I have this example where somebody was using the mobile banking app and gave it to another person to set it up. When the OTP came, he gave the OTP to the person, and so by the time the whole thing was set up, the guy has everything that he needs to break into the app. And so this same person was robbed of his money, and later when the investigation was conducted, it came out that the very young man who did the setup for him was the one who perpetuated that. So personal responsibility is very key. And sometimes to leaders, we feel we are too busy, and some people even hand over their email accounts to their PAs and to their whoever to access. All these things, I think, is a personal responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abbey. But Dr. Abbey, can you give us your final comments before we get to Dr. Philip Takyi? Your final comments.
All right. My final comment is that thanks to FCILG for this opportunity to share knowledge and to learn. We continuously say that the space requires all of us to be continuously learning and appreciate what is trending and apply it to our various spaces. I am honored to be part of this presentation, and Dr. Takyi as well. Great insights. He is more of a technical person, and I must say I have learned a great deal from him as well, especially with regards to the data-driven decision making. That is the way to go. And all of us, I thank all the distinguished participants, audience out there. Dr. Adams, the your very self, country director for FCILG, and may God bless us all. And once again, happy Independence Month to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Abbey. So, Dr. Takyi, before you also give us your final comment, I would also want you to still touch on that issue again. You could see even in our WhatsApp group, there are times you will be there and members are sending us screenshots of people who have been able to get their contact, sending them notes and those things. And it creates a whole lot. At times we've not even organized trainings, but they've received links for them to join some other training here and there and the rest. If you can touch on that one again before you also give us your final comment.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Adams. It's a reality. It's a real problem. And I can associate with that. What I'll say to that is that one of the observations I've made is the fact that most of us drop IT items with the IT guys. Once I am not an IT person, I don't want to know anything about IT. And so even changing passwords as basic as that and all of that, we think it is a specialized activity, and we need someone who is a nerd in that area to help us. My point there is no, it is not. It's the same way we have economics, the same thing we have with finance, there are some basics that applies to everybody. And so what I would say is that thankfully, there's a lot of information online. Self-awareness. You can go online and create that self-awareness. I'll say that if FCILG does not do this on our own, we should be able to go online and check ways of getting things done. And it happens to a lot of the managers, the leaders in organizations. A lot of them are not savvy. They are not comfortable with computers and how to use them and all of that. So they have, like you said, my colleague said, they have their assistants work on some of these things. And sometimes their private information is being handled by some of these people. It is that fear we have to face and get rid of, and go online and search and know that we have the capability to know and be able to implement ourselves the things that we are talking about. So I'll just say that we have to take the responsibilities ourselves, go online and check for information on how to deal with some of these things. If you have a friend who is knowledgeable in this, talk to that friend as well. But we have to initiate it ourselves and take that road. Let's not be afraid. And let's not shift the responsibility only to the IT people. It's not. So in wrapping up, I'll say that it's important to emphasize that intuition and experience will still be valuable, but it will be complemented and dominantly validated by data-driven insights, as we have learned. For decision-making accuracy. I must say a very big thank you, same as my brother has indicated, to Chartered Institute of Leadership and Governance under your leadership, Dr. Adams and the team for putting all of this together. And a special thanks to all of you on this platform. Without you, this thing wouldn't have been a success, So I'll just say that let's turn all of this into data. Let's turn this data into action. Okay, and make some magic happen in our industries. A big thank you to all of you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Before we invite the chairperson to give us the closing remarks again, I would want to take some few minutes of our time to give this announcement. We've already spent some time. I want to take a few minutes of our time to give this announcement. Dr. Takyi, can you please off your, so we could share? Yes, thank you. Not the camera, but the PowerPoint.
It's okay now?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I hope my camera, my, I hope it's visible now. My screen is visible now.
Yes,
Yes.
it's visible. It's visible.
Okay, sir. Okay, so a quick introduction of our institute for those of us joining for the first time. This is the Chartered Institute of Leadership and Governance, the Ghana chapter. We have the registration number in Ghana here is 108, registered with the Registrar General's Department. The vision is to be a national and international reference for committed and sincere leaders. And basically, our mission is to train and certify our members. So you could see on the yearly basis, there are a series of trainings that we organize. Those we do for the public, which we call the public lecture, and those we do for members and other events as well. Now, these are membership grades. We have the affiliate grade, we have the associate grade, the full member, the fellow member, the honorary fellow, and the distinguished fellow. They are all parts of the grades that we have within the professional body. And we have a number of committees that also assist in running the professional body. We have the Professional Conduct and Ethics Committee, the Editorial Committee, the Welfare Committee, Training and Development Committee, and also the Legal and Compliance Committee. Becoming a member, you would also benefit through the various networking we have. Also you get our professional recognition as well. Then, you know, the leadership opportunities, discounted conferences, and eligibility for awards are some of the things that you get when you become members of the institute. There are other chartered programs that are available for members and non-members to also undertake, and we have it in the area of leadership consultancy, education leadership. We have the strategic auditing. We have project leadership and management, political leadership, facility leadership and management. Duration is between 4 to 11 months. We have the in-person one and the online one as well. Now, the big announcement. Our MCPE comes on in Kumasi. Our MCPE comes on in Kumasi, and it's in the it's from 25th to 26th of April, 2025. We'll be having it at True Vine Hotel. And this time we are considering both training and tourism. So the first day, which is the 25th, will be a full day training. The 26th will be a half day training, and we'll do tour as part of it. Registration is open, and members can register. We have 1,300 for members and non-members 1,500. We've already made this announcement. Members who initially made payment for their renewals, that they were not supposed to make those payments, we've spoken to them, and the money have also been used to offset part of the fees as well. In fact, in coming for this conference, having a personal computer is a must. You know, we've had a very nice online lecture from Dr. Takyi, Dr. Abbey. We want to look at the practical aspect of this. So we want to request that members coming for the training should come with their personal computers. There's a lot to be learned during that time. It's going to be a practical session throughout. In fact, if you are coming, we would also encourage you to come with your IT officer or whoever is also in charge of IT. But please, you don't come with a person with the view that the person is going to learn the practical aspects of it, so that when you go to the office, the person will take you through. No, you are coming with him so that what you are also going to study, the person will also be taken through that same thing. So in case you are in the office, you will know how to handle these issues. And it comes on the 25th to the 26th of April 2025. This is a non-residential conference. A non-residential conference. So meaning when you, after your 1,003 or your 1,005, if you are not in Kumasi, we'll recommend some hotels for you that you can get. But if you are in Kumasi, we are good to go. You can come for the training. If you have any other question, clarification, any other thing, kindly you can visit www.cilgghana.org. You have a number of resources there to explain that. You can also send an email to us at office@cilgghana.org or call us on 0248 5999 59 0248 5999 59. So thank you for joining this session. And at this point in time, I'll give the floor over to Dr. Daniel Kweku Hazel to give us his closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adams. So, ladies and gentlemen and honorable members, we have come to the close of this insightful and engaging lecture. And I would like to express my sincere gratitude to you all for your time, attention, and I was going to say active participation, but today your questions didn't come. But thank you for your participation, staying to the end. We have explored the crucial role that digital leadership plays in driving organizational transformation. And we've also delved into the transformative power of data-driven decision-making and how it is shaping a new leadership paradigm. Now, it is clear that in today's rapidly evolving digital landscape, leadership is no longer just about decision-making. It is about agility, innovation, and also embracing technology to create sustainable growth. Our distinguished speakers have shed light on how leaders must not only adapt, but also inspire change, foster collaboration, and also leverage digital tools to stay ahead in an increasingly competitive world. So I'd like to extend my deepest appreciation to our speakers, Dr. Victor Abbey and Dr. Philip Takyi, for their invaluable insights and thought-provoking presentation. Let me say that your expertise has undoubtedly broadened our understanding on how organizations can harness digital leadership to enhance efficiency, improve customer experience, and also drive long-term success. Now, to our hard-working country director, Dr. Adams, and his team that made this public lecture possible, thank you for your dedication and effort in making this event possible. Your commitment to knowledge sharing and professional development is truly commendable. And finally, to all our esteemed guests, Dr. Adams promised that he will introduce you, but he didn't. But I know you are online. So to all our esteemed guests, your presence here today reflects a shared commitment to learning and growth. And I encourage all of us, honorable colleague members, that the lessons we've learned today from these two experts in this area, we should make sure that we apply them in our respective organization. I believe the future belongs to those who embrace change, and digital leadership will continue to be a driving force in shaping tomorrow's enterprises. So thank you once again, and have a wonderful evening. I hand over to Dr. Adams.
Thank you again, our chair, for such a powerful closing remarks. On this note, I'd also like to introduce the Secretary for NEC, National Executive Council of the Institute, Dr. Genevieve Obobi Duncan, or Duncan Obobi. If you are with us, any words from you? Dr. Obobi? Okay. So on this note, as we have always been doing, we'd like you to put on your video, so we could take a group picture. You put on your video, we'll take a group picture. If you yes, put on your video, we'll take a group picture of the video. Yes, put on the video, we'll take a group picture. Okay, Mr. Nim, do you have any question, or you were putting on? Okay, So put on your video, we'll take a group picture, put on your video. Yes, put on your video for a group picture. Okay. Okay. Yes. Prof. Nefia, we can see you. Yes. You put on your video. Yes. Honorable Dr. Maurijonas Wood, we can see you. Dr. Elizabeth Tampao. Yes. So on this note, we'll say a very good evening and bye-bye. Bye-bye. Kindly check our WhatsApp platform for more information on upcoming training. And when we share the slides, the flyers, kindly share and get people to also join us in Kumasi for such a powerful presentation. So we'll say bye-bye. So bye-bye, everyone. You can also unmute, say bye-bye. Okay, sure. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you, Director.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.